Tom Pelissero, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have for him. And when he's dressed like this, you make me concerned for your time, Tom. I'm not going to lie.
You know, I'm always on Friday mornings on Good Morning Football, Rich,
right.
doing the news hits. Usually,
Yep.
you know, we're several hours later. I've gotten a little comfortable.
Yep.
I pop on here with a hoodie on.
Yep.
So, you know, when I show up, not just still in the shirt and tie, but with the tie all the way up
Yes,
and
sir.
knotted.
Yeah.
Today could get a little weird.
Hey now.
But go ahead and say hello to everyone in the studio at least.
What's up to the boys in studio?
Tommy P, what up, baby?
Tommy P in a tie.
Good to see you.
I wish
fellas.
we had the way we had before.
Are you accusing Tom of peeing in his tie? Is that what you just said?
Not what I meant.
Oh,
but-
okay. I'm just wondering.
Sorry,
All
Tom.
Now
I don't even know how the physics of that are mind-boggling.
Maybe a Windsor.
The wind has some people in the words you.
Why isn't
this is a Windsor.
John Harbaugh signed yet? What's happening? There's no concern, is there? Tom?
What I would tell you, Rich, is it is still likely that John Harbaugh becomes the head coach of the New York Giants. He had a very good visit on Wednesday at the team facility. It was less an interview than a coronation from the Giants' perspective. He felt strongly enough coming out of that interview that he postponed his scheduled meeting with the Tennessee Titans, which was to occur at his home on Thursday in Baltimore. However, some of the reporting that came out Wednesday night into Thursday morning was, let's call it, a little bit ahead of where things actually were. There was no deal agreed to. There was nothing down the line in terms of the contract. There was no assurances that this was necessarily it. The only action item was they put the Titans on hold and made abundantly clear that John was very interested in taking the Giants job. So again, where we stand, and this is about 36 hours later since the news initially broke, and we do not yet have a deal in place for John Harbaugh. This is not, from what I'm told, a money thing. The Giants stand ready to make Harbaugh once again one of the highest paid coaches in the NFL. But John Harbaugh is 63 years old. He has done this a long time. This is quite possibly the last stop for him in coaching in the NFL. He wants to make sure that this is the right fit, and he's going to trust his gut. John Harbaugh was in the Ravens organization for 18 years. Prior to that, he was with the Eagles for 10. So 28 years with two championship organizations, and he's been doing due diligence, not just on the Giants, but all the potential teams, and talking to a ton of people about exactly what this would look like. So my understanding is the sides, after speaking extensively on Thursday, re-engaged again this morning. Those talks are ongoing. It is still likely that whether it is in the next few hours, whether it is tomorrow, that John Harbaugh will be the New York Giants head coach. But it is not and was not ever a foregone conclusion. We should have answers in the relatively near future. The Giants are optimistic that they are close to the finish line on this thing. And only then, Rich, when they actually cross the goal line, holding the ball and making sure this doesn't turn into a touchback, that they can actually celebrate what would be the biggest win for that franchise in a very long time.
Tom Pelissero joining us here on the Rich Eisen Show. Our radio audience just rejoined Tom, coming up with all the conditional phrasing he could muster about the John Harbaugh Giants contractual conversations, that it's not done yet. So let's ask you about Mike Tomlin, because I'm a little surprised by Rondé Barber, who absolutely would know, his statement on his own show saying that Mike Tomlin, he doesn't believe is ever going to coach again. Now, we haven't heard a single word except the report from The Athletic about how emotional it was for his players to receive the news from Tomlin. What's the general sense? Because we're certainly not hearing him about being available in this current coaching cycle. Tom, what's the general sense about what Mike Tomlin's next steps are going to be?
I would tell you that what Art Rooney said publicly accurately reflects what Mike Tomlin has told people privately, which is this was more a family decision than it was a football decision. He has not entered into any agreement to go do TV. He is not secretly, going to do the old unretire in 2 weeks and try to come back with a different team. He truly intends to take time away. There have been teams that have checked in on Mike Tomlin, and they have been told the same thing, which is he does not intend to coach in 2026. We all know plans can change, Rich. If plans change with one of the most respected coaches in recent NFL history, there certainly would be teams that would have an interest in bringing in Mike Tomlin. The Steelers still have him under contract. It would have to be a trade at this time if they were to move down the road. Art Rooney has not spoken specifically on what that would look like, but there's precedent for it in terms of the Sean Payton trade a couple of years ago. That, though, occurred a year later after Mickey Loomis had hired Dennis Allen and gone through an entire year. There was a coach in place. And at that point, the way that Loomis approached it was, here's what historically these trades have been. It's a first-round pick and more. We are going to tell other teams, if you want Sean Payton, you got to agree that that is going to be the compensation. If you're on board with that, then you can talk to him about potentially going there. Sean made several different visits. He talked to Carolina. I believe he talked to Arizona. Ultimately, talked to Denver, and is now the head coach of the team that's the number one seed in the AFC. It is much more complicated to trade a coach who has just walked away. In other words, because of the contractual piece of this, because the Steelers have not even hired a coach, it would raise a lot of questions, and Art Rooney, as he said, would have to cross that bridge when you come to it. It doesn't sound like we're there right now with Mike Tomlin. I can't tell you what the future holds. I did not personally see a guy on the sideline, the way that he interacted with players, beating his chest after that win right there over the Ravens, who looked like he is just done and he's out of gas. He felt it was time for a change for himself, for the Steelers organization. How will he feel in 2027? We don't know, but he's a very competitive guy. He's going to need an outlet for that. And certainly one of the driving storylines over the next year will be, will Mike Tomlin come back to the NFL? And if so, who potentially, who's coaching in 2026, could end up having their job taken by a guy who's coached 19 seasons and never had a losing one?
What is happening with Matt LaFleur in Green Bay right now, Tom?
There have been extensive discussions about a contract extension. That was the plan going into this phase of the offseason. That was the plan even before the game in Chicago. That probably, frankly, didn't make things easier in terms of the negotiation. The fact that not just did they lose that game, but the way they lost that game. I would repeat something I know I told you, Rich, a week or two ago, which is Matt LaFleur at 46 years old in the middle of his coaching career is not just, I would fairly say, if you polled people around the NFL, a top 10 head coach. He's also a top 5 play caller in the NFL. So if you moved on from Matt LaFleur, you would have to essentially replace both positions. The Packers recognize that. They do not want Matt LaFleur going anyplace else. The question has been about what is the level of the commitment? What are the contract numbers? Where should Matt LaFleur rightly fall among other head coaches in the NFL at a time that the market is exploding? If Matt LaFleur would become available, there would be no shortage of teams that would be lining up to hire him. There's already 8 vacancies. There would be a strong chance that Matt LaFleur would be a candidate for the majority of those vacancies. But there's still several steps here. Can they work out a deal? That's been the focus for both sides. If they can't, then the options are he coaches out 2026 and then becomes a free agent. You could attempt to trade him, which, again, complicated things. The coach has to be on board. It's not like players. You can't just send them wherever. Like, he'd have to agree to a new deal with that team in order to work out the compensation, or you fire him. I don't see that being an option. I don't see the Packers firing Matt LaFleur. I believe Matt's preference is to be in Green Bay and to continue to compete in that division with a roster that he loves. He's developed 2 quarterbacks there, not just Jordan Love, but Malik Willis. He won games with Malik Willis. Matt's built something in Green Bay. He has lived up to the standards they have at Lambeau Field. He just has not put the Lombardi Trophy in the case yet. Can they find a path forward? I anticipate we'll get answers in the not too distant future on that. We'll see exactly how the rest of this plays out, but that's where they've been throughout this week, Rich, is trying to figure out if they can find a path forward, do an extension that locks in Matt LaFleur for multiple years to come.
Well, I think you make an excellent point, Tom, and the fact that he's not just a head coach, he's also the play caller, and I appreciate you multitasking right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Do you need to return that text?
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. Yep.
Just tell me if
I'm
there's
listening.
No, I understand.
One ear on you. This is
That's
like
all right.
how
No,
I
this is
talk
the way
to my wife.
no,
I'm
Tom.
typing, but I do hear you
Tom.
telling me what I need to make for dinner tomorrow.
I'm used to this, Tom, because this is the way I talk to my children. You know, honestly, their faces are in their phones, and I'm like, "Are you hearing me?" All right. So it's an interesting point that you make about that LaFleur is the offensive coordinator and play caller as well as the head coach. And in that regard, there's a ton of OC jobs open where the candidates are also applying for head coaching jobs. How do you see this playing out? Do the head coaching gigs need to be filled first? Or is there going to be somebody who's also talking about a head coaching job saying, you know what, I kind of dig this OC gig more, and they're going to jump in and turn down a head coaching job? What's the timing on all of this for the Lions fans and the Chargers fans? All of them were wondering who their next offensive coordinator is going to be, just as an example.
It's a great point, because I honestly have had multiple conversations today with coaches in the NFL, some of whom are on lame duck staffs. Remember, over a quarter of the league fired their head coach. So you currently have 9 staffs. Some of the owners have given those people permission to interview for other jobs.
Right.
Other owners, GMs, have said, we're holding on to you until we get the next guy. We're not just going to let our staff get raided. So people start to get antsy. But it is January 16th. We can't even do the in-person interviews with currently employed coaches until Monday. And so what I've been telling everyone is just exercise some patience here, because you're talking about the OC jobs that are open, Rich. So we've got Tampa, Detroit, the Chargers, the Eagles. The Chiefs don't have Matt Nagy under contract. The Commanders already hired David Blau, promoted him from within, and that's because Detroit was willing to hire Blau, who used to be a quarterback there. So that's 6. You have 9 staffs, that's 15. You can count on 2, 3, 4 offensive coordinators getting jobs. Now, all of a sudden, you're talking about 17 to 19 new offensive coordinators in 2026. There is so much movement that needs to take place. And one thing that you're seeing, this has become more commonplace in recent years, is teams conducting head coaching interviews with candidates that realistically are probably more likely to be offensive or defensive coordinator candidates. Take Tennessee, who now, I believe, as of the end of this weekend, will have interviewed like 18 candidates, 13 or 14 of which are former NFL, or in the case of Jeff Hafley, college head coaches. So it's very clear they are prioritizing experience. They want people who've done it. Is Brian Daboll really going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans? Is Jonathan Gannon going to be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans? In both cases, with respect to those guys, I would say probably not, but they certainly, in Daboll's case, could be the OC, and Gannon is going to be a hot defensive coordinator candidate. Mike McDaniel is interviewing. He's interviewed for 4 head coaching jobs so far. I believe there's going to be a 5th interview for Mike McDaniel. He simultaneously is interviewed for the Lions offensive coordinator job. And I believe that between the Eagles, the Bucks, the Chargers, there's a bunch of teams that would like to hire Mike as their OC as well. So those decisions you're talking to are real things that need to be worked through here. But because there are so many OC jobs out there, and there are so many of the candidates for those jobs that also are interviewing for head coaching jobs, the coordinator jobs are probably going to fill a little bit more slowly. In other words, a Mike McDaniel is going to want to know he doesn't have a head coaching opportunity before he just goes and jumps and takes, let's say, the Lions offensive coordinator job. These are all moving parts, Rich. There are, of course, issues under the Rooney Rule in terms of qualifying interviews that need to take place before you can hire. The only 3 teams that, as of today, can hire their head coaches are the Giants, the Titans, and the Falcons. Those teams are in position to move swiftly as we get through this weekend and into the start of next week. But a lot of teams have an interest in at least speaking to some of those candidates that, by rule, if you are employed by an NFL team, you can't interview until this coming Monday. They at least want to go through that portion of the process. I believe that you will see the hires really pick up, probably not Monday, but as we get into the middle to end of next week, you could see a bunch of these vacancies filled.
All right, Tom, before I let you go, Sam Darnold's oblique. What the heck? That's a simple question.
Two sides to this. So Sam Darnold feels something.
You mean of his body? Or you're
yes,
talking,
he's got two obliques, I believe. I'm not even sure what
Sorry,
an
I
oblique
didn't mean to go
is.
dad joke on you or you're dispensing information. Sorry.
I like that. Yeah, oblique has many different definitions.
Okay.
He felt something in his side throwing the football in practice yesterday. He pulled himself out of practice. He talked with reporters, and when he was asked about the percent chance that he doesn't play, he basically said it is near zero.
Right.
That's not a surprise. I believe that Sam Darnold, barring some type of a setback, will be able to play tomorrow night against the 49ers. But oblique injuries always are concerning when you're talking about a quarterback. It is much like a pitcher in baseball. Oblique injuries in baseball, that guy's going on the 15-day disabled list, right? Because of the torquing motion, the way that it's the pain tolerance and the fact that you can make something like that worse. And so this is a situation where, again, barring some type of setback, I'm not under the impression that Sam Darnold is not going to be able to go, but it's going to be worth keeping an eye on how functional is he? Is he in pain? Are there things that they can do to numb him prior to the game? It's a muscle injury. And so inevitably, if you tweak that thing the wrong way, you're going to be feeling it in the game. It's not what the Seahawks wanted to be dealing with as they get set for, probably the biggest home playoff game that they've had since the Legion of Boom over a decade ago. So keep an eye on it over these next 24 plus hours here. They'll continue to monitor. He'll receive treatment. I believe that he is going to be able to play, but he's listed as questionable. We just have to see exactly what that looks like against the 49ers defense that, despite all the injuries, Robert Saleh has had humming and attacking people this entire season.
And then what other injuries should we keep an eye on? Nico Collins in the concussion protocol. Same thing with Christian Gonzalez, just as a for instance. What else you got for me for the entire weekend before I let you go, Tom?
Do not believe that you're going to have Nico Collins on the field. He's not practicing again today. Based on the concussion protocol, you kind of got to progress from limited to full and then get clearance from the independent neurologist before you're able to be cleared.
Right.
They're running out of time with Nico Collins. I don't believe that he's going to play. They'll probably rule him out today. Christian Gonzalez, on the other hand, went from limited on Wednesday to full on Thursday.
There you go.
That's a very positive sign. As of this morning, I was told he is still in the concussion protocol, but that's stage 5 once you get past full participation, which is clearance by the independent neurologist is the last step. If that comes today, which is probably when he'll see the doctor, or as late as tomorrow, he'll be available, which would be huge, obviously, for a Patriots team that, as much as they're going to have to deal with that Texans defense, the Texans offense, if C.J. Stroud can handle a snap this week, they can be dangerous as well.
Tom, thanks for the time, man. You're free to go. Appreciate it. We'll chat over the weekend on NFL Network, obviously. Take care, buddy.
Sounds good, Rich. Thanks.
That's Tom Pelissero. Multitasking is only he can.
See you, buddy.
Right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.